Google slide. Oh, you've got it there? Because we'll put it in here.
For this, can you hold on to XLP stand? Speaking language. Okay. Call this meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Robin?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad? Desha?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
All right. Do we have any visitors this evening that would like to address the board? Seeing none? Thanks for coming. Seeing none, we'll move on to the financial report.
Fund balances. Net fund balance is $27,399,679.77. The operating funds net total, and that is the four biggest funds, is $23,190,667.51. Revenues for this past month: education fund from the local level, $6,360,127.75. State would be $683,052.90, and federal was $240,861.39. Expenses, you have those listed above $5,000. Reimburse I'm not going to ask that you reimburse the imprest account in the amount of $6,656.87, and payment of bills for this past month to approve is $1,356,739.75.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the financial report to reimburse the interest account in the amount of $6,656.87, and the payment of bills in the amount of $1,356,739.75.
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Jill. Roll call.
Jill.
Yes.
Jane, yes. Desha.
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Robin.
Yes, motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda. We have several things tonight. First, we have minutes from 2 special board meetings on October 13th and October 19th for approval. We have the cafeteria report enclosed. Student teachers for the coming semester, year. We have 2, Kaylee Horn, student teaching with Emily Lotz at Central in the spring, and then Josie Westendorf doing a practicum in the fall, and then student teaching in the spring with a variety of people. She's a dual major L-Ed special ed. So those are the student teachers and practicum students that we have. Next, after student teachers, we have fundraisers. We have several here. EJHS basketball is going to be selling fan gear. A small portion of the proceeds will go towards the basketball program. That will be from October 31st to November 30th. EJHS Student Council will be selling Little Debbie snacks to raise money for school activities and service projects and to build student morale. The snack will be sold during lunch periods once a month, November to May. EJHS Musical, Spam-A-Lot Favorite. The cast and crew will decorate shoeboxes to represent their character in Spam-A-Lot. Donations can be made at intermission each night for their favorite to offset costs. That is November 10th to the 13th. And last, Central School Student Council. Once again, we have Smensels and Snickers to raise money for CJS Student Council so we can do fun things throughout the year. That's December 5th through the 9th. And those are the fundraisers that have been submitted. Field trips. We have 1 field trip, and that is for Southside and Central, a trip to the Children's Museum in Terre Haute, 2 buses each day and a special ed bus 1 day. That's April 20th and 21st, so that's in the spring. And that was the only field trip request that we have. And then we have, that's it. So if there are any questions or comments about the items on the consent agenda? No? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve the items as presented in the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Desha,
Second, yes.
second by Jane, roll call.
Jill.
Yes.
Jane, yes. Desha.
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Robin.
Yes. Next, we have correspondence. We have 2 this evening. First, Unit 40 family. Thank you for the beautiful plant in memory of my father-in-law, Paul Windling. Your kindness will always be remembered. It's wonderful to be surrounded by such amazing people. Steve and I are grateful for you. Sincerely, Jill Windling. And then we have one from the Eastern Illinois University College of Education. Dear Andy, thank you for hosting our visit for us to discuss how we might work together to benefit the children of Effingham. We look forward to working with you. That is from Loretta Henderson, Dean, the College of Education. And that's all the correspondence. Next, we have the superintendent's report.
Superintendent's report, we'll start with a lift presentation from Mr. McLean Schaefer and Mr. Kurt Roberts. And you don't have anything to display, do I? Okay.
I got it right here.
All right.
So I'll go ahead and introduce while McLean is passing it down. Some of you may remember McLean, he was an administrator in our district
Thank
2 years ago in high school. He moved on to Matt Toon with their district, or moved back to, I should say. And in that, he's had an opportunity to move into a program called LIFT. And could offer, if you guys agree to that, could offer some great opportunities for our high school kids. So with that, I'll introduce you to McLean Schaefer and let him kind of explain the program.
Awesome. Like Mr. Roberts said, my name is McLean Schaefer. I'm the director at LIFT in Mattoon. LIFT stands for Leaders Innovating for Tomorrow. And I'll address the board's attention to this packet for just a real quick overview of what LIFT is and the concept, and then we'll turn to the program guide. So the concept of LIFT is to develop a regional innovation and technology center in Mattoon. So our goal is to connect students on specific pathways within their learning in seven different pathways. I'll tell you about those in a minute, with the goal that they get industry certifications, credentials, dual credits, workplace experiences by the time they graduate from high school. So it's offered to juniors and seniors. We've invited 28 different schools within our region to participate. So currently we have 17 that have signed agreements with MAC2, and 11 that are currently sending students to LIFT right now. So we just opened up in August. It's great. We're having a good time. We have 104 students currently enrolled, and looking to add some Effingham love to the party as well. So if you turn the page, you'll kind of see the general layout of the programs that we have offered. So starting in the basement and working our way up with the communications pathway, a focus on early childhood education on our first floor. Our second floor is all things IT, call that Google of the Midwest. Our third floor is HVAC, green energy, mechatronics, and robotics. Fourth floor would be manufacturing, architecture, and construction trades. Our fifth floor is a leadership institute, and our sixth floor is culinary arts. Students can have the option of attending one of 3 sessions in a day. So they would attend an 8 to 10 o'clock session, a 10:15 to 12:15 session, or a 1:30 to 3:30 session. So 2 hours of the day, about 20%. They would leave the school, they would come, attend LIFT, engage in the programs, and then they would have the rest of their classes held at Effingham. So they would just be there for a portion of the day, and then taking those classes. Again, it's offered to juniors and seniors. So the outcomes listed again: industry certificates, credentials, workplace experiences, as well as some dual credits. So I'm not going to go through all of the photos, but what I've included in here is just photos of the learning space. So if you're trying to get an idea of when a student walked through the doors of LIFT, what they would see, what they would experience, this gives you a snapshot of the overview starting from the basement, working your way up to the top floor with what all we would have to offer for students in those programs. So what programs, what courses are offered, what dual credits, what credentials. Inside your program guide, there's a detailed description. So for example, here you can see childcare with the different courses that would be offered in childcare. The dual credits, when offered, listed at the bottom, and a general program overview as well as any prerequisites that a student might attend. So as you flip through, it'll give you a really good idea of the different menu of courses that students can attend. So one of the things that all students at LIFT participate in when they enroll in a course is they will enroll in our LIFT leadership course. So the development of LIFT, listening to industry, business, industry partners, business partners, one of the number one needs that they say they need in graduates are soft skills, right? So being able to work in a group, communicate, collaborate, fill out a resume, balance a budget, right? All of these types of skills that we call 21st century skills. So all students that attend LIFT, regardless on if they're in the basement or the 6th floor, are automatically enrolled in that leadership course. And so it's about a 12-week course where students spend a part of their day engaging in that leadership content and get a credit for that as well as their other credit they would get in their pathway. So 7 pathways. Within each pathway is a menu of courses. Students choose a course based on their interest, where they would most like to be. They work through that course. Ultimately, our goal is to get kids workplace experiences, so by the time they enter their senior year, they've got some certifications, they got some skills within their chosen pathway, and then they can stay within their communities, work at the local businesses that hire them or bring them on for internships, ultimately to create a crystal clear pathway on graduation. So students know when they graduate as seniors, if I'm going to go straight to work, if I'm going to enter the apprenticeships or trades, if I'm going to go on to advanced programming or higher education, and anywhere in between. That is the goal and outcome of every student that enters LIFT. I'll open it up at this time for any questions.
Before you do that, come on.
Yes.
So just so you know, I want to put in there where I think and why I believe this is something we need to do here for Effingham High School. Okay. So just to give you an example of the way I see this working, so I'm just gonna take on page 8 of this program guide is HVAC. So if I have an individual, okay, who is a student at Effingham High School and as Schaefer mentioned, has decided that somewhere in the trades they're gonna have or choose a career in those trades, here's an opportunity for this individual, 2 hours a day, all right? So this is essentially an elective, all right? And HVAC is not something we offer at Effingham High School. They're able to go and understand the program. Basically, they advance as quickly as they want to advance, right? They have an opportunity. This is a lot different than sitting in a classroom, all right, and just sitting with one instructor. So when they walk out of there, if I look at all those certifications, these are certifications this individual would have to be working on after they got hired in the HVAC industry. They're now, correct me if I'm wrong, they're now walking out with these whenever they graduate from high school. Plus they're getting, and I believe your leadership program is based on Stephen Covey, correct? And that's if you see that, or what is it?
Franklin Covey
Yeah,
Education.
okay. And so that is another program that's really highly regarded if you're not familiar with that. So that's where I see that for us. We are not necessarily, I don't have any students lined up in a queue somewhere right now, but really until the board decides to sign that intergovernmental agreement, well, I can't send any students anything. So we're here today just kind of ask you guys to consider that so we have that option in the future if we have something that students have a student that would just be available to them or something that would be beneficial to them. So that's why I want to be here today. That's why we kind of talked about this for a while now. I see this as an opportunity for our students. Anything that you guys might have for either one to speak on?
I jotted a couple of things down, because when, 2 hours a day on travel time, right? So that's pretty much gonna be a half day for
Well,
our kids.
we've looked this and we've talked about this already. For us we're probably one of your more distant schools, would be my guess.
We've got some others that are hour drives,
Okay.
45 minutes, so.
So we would probably have to limit our students to that first block, and their drive time is going to be, so we're only pulling one drive time for them, right? Their drive time is gonna be in the morning before school starts, and then coming back. If we have to use a drive time there and a drive time back out of the middle of the school day, that's a lot of time out. I'm not sure they can get all the classes they need to get in. So it'll probably have to be the 2 hour block in the morning or the 2 hour block at the end of the day for our kids.
Which is pretty common for the city schools that do have a drive. The morning or afternoon sessions are popular choices, but then also we worked out some individual schedules for students who like Lyft is the right place and they need to be in those programs, but credit wise, they need to stay at their home schools. So we've done some hybrid options where they'll come like 2 days a week and stay for half days. Or stay all day for 1 day to get all of their way caught up. So those examples are few and far between. Most students fit within one of the scheduled options.
I know our district has been involved with our last superintendent being on the board, I guess, of this ERCA, this Regional Career Academy that's still under development with Lakeland. I mean, it sounds like some of these things maybe cross into the same areas they're doing. Am I thinking right about that?
You know, I've worked with that
Okay.
group, and I think a lot of that group is, there may be some that overlaps a little bit here, but one of the things that I like, I think there's a difference in that I think this is kind of geared more towards not taking the college coursework that Lakeland offers, not taking those credits and those types of things. This is more along those, because you'll have to tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you guys have gone out and found some leaders in these particular industries to come in and actually instruct these. So in other words, you got experts in HVAC instructing these classes, am I right? in that?
Right, so one of our expectations for our facilitators is that we bring in industry leaders to present and help develop that curriculum. And really, the industry is what developed the curriculum we have. But LIFT is also not a replacement program. We hope to just add to the menu of opportunities for Effingham students. So there are schools that say, hey, we have an awesome culinary program, so we'll send students in all these others, but we want to enroll them in culinary because that just wouldn't make sense for us, right? So it's not meant to replace the program, it's just meant to add to the menu of options.
And I don't see this as necessarily two things competing with each other. These are just two opportunities, right? And putting those opportunities out there for students, if, like I said, we'd rather have this government agreement and not need it, rather than need it and not have it. Because I think that this was going to offer some opportunities that the Regional Career Academy at this point anyway is not.
Okay. And so Okay, I'm a little unclear about, is this part of the Mattoon School District or is this a separate?
This is part of the Mattoon School District.
Okay. And I saw about the tuition, or
Yes.
the cost.
Yes.
So in our instance, our students would bear 100%
We
of
would
that
have to,
cost
as a
or?
board and as a district, we would have to decide on how we
On
look at that. I mean, it would probably be similar to the same decisions we make about health op, or some of our other programs where students have a cost. For instance,
Okay.
health op, the students bear some of the costs, the district bears some of the costs. So my recommendation, if we choose to go this way, is we make the decision to do it in a very similar manner to for some consistency.
And how about the responsibility of transportation? Is that on the student or are we expected to send our kids there?
Yeah, that would be the student's responsibility.
And are you already collaborating with businesses in the Mattoon area? So is it, I just want to kind of see if, is this like maybe a pipeline for businesses there to get students?
Mattoon throughout our region. So we've got national partners like Johnson Controls, who's partnering with our HVAC, Franklin Covey, a national partner there, Airmark, who's a national industry within our culinary arts. We've got Cisco, our IT department is a Cisco Networking Academy, so Cisco global certifications, global training. But then like Sullivan, for example, in hybrid gear, our robotics program, they're really interested in the certifications that students get with their FAN and robot certification. And that would be an example of a small business as well. But really, it's kind of this regional business menu that is starting to grow and grow and grow as more students from surrounding areas attend. And then those local communities say, hey, we want to tap into that. Like, we'll host a workplace experience. Like, let's send them our way. And so that network is starting to grow.
So you're still open to that growing, and if we had if we had students involved?
Not open to, committed to. Like,
Committed.
that's
Good.
the whole vision of LIFT and our Board of Education, like saying yes to footing the bill for this entire place is committed to like this regional impact for jobs and for growth in the region. So.
I have a question about enrollment. So let's say how many spots per floor are
Right.
available?
Great question. So it's based on the 9 through 12 total population, total enrollment within a high school. And so you take that for Effingham, divided by all the schools that go in, so there's certain seats per floor. Effingham being one of the bigger schools, I think right now would be like 6 seats per floor per pathway. So 6 times 7 would be the amount of kids that can come. But as enrollment increases and as more students participate, right, that and more districts join, those seats become more competitive per pathway.
So how do you choose if you've got 6 Effingham spots for IT and we've got 10 potential students? How are those chosen?
That would be us.
Okay.
We would be the ones to make those decisions. We do that now with health doc. We have a limited number of seats. So there is some criteria we look at in health doc. We go back. Typically, we're going to start, one of the first things at any time that we decide when we have a limited seats is we're going to look at probably seniors first because they've got this is their last opportunity. If that's what it comes down to, if that's the situation. And then we might go back and look at individual, like for health doc, because attendance is so key to health doc, we might have to go back and look at attendance of an individual and where their attendance has been, and especially with a junior, and say, well, if you can build your attendance here as a junior, then you've got that opportunity your senior year. So we would have to decide those.
And that's a pretty common criteria for those school districts we're working for. The attendance, the grades, the credits on track for graduation, behavior. Those would be criteria on who would quote unquote get one of those seats.
How many current districts are participating right now?
We have 11 school districts that are currently sending students.
And if you're not familiar, I don't think you said this, if you're familiar with Mattoon and the old consolidated building, that's where this is housed. With a lot of updates.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So how many current students?
104 current students. And spring enrollment's open right now, so we're enrolling students throughout the region currently right now. So.
Anything else for McLean or Kurt?
We do have,
I got a question real quick. So like if we just had 6 seats, I mean, if on a floor, then, I mean, are you saying like, okay, all you 6 go, or you're still looking into what the kid's actually looking towards, where it's not, I'm gonna go to Matt 10 for 2.5 hours, get out of our building?
I think-
What are we looking at?
I see what you're saying. For the most part, we haven't had what you're kind of referring to with the idea that a student just wants to get out, because there's this, we would set that higher standard. We do have a health doc at this point, and that those students who are doing that have such a desire to do that, that we have very few students that are willing to go and put in the work that it takes to go do it just to get out of school. But yeah, I mean, definitely a concern. We just haven't had that.
Do you have those numbers on hand, how much it costs a student to be in health OC and how much the district pays?
I do. Would you like to know those numbers? Okay. So currently, I believe, and it's gonna be a little bit estimate, but I'm pretty close. Currently, there is a cost to the district of about $1,000 for a health OC student. And we ask the student to pay $100 of it, maybe a little over 100. Michelle's shaking her head, that's probably what you should really be asking.
Well, and we also have CEO. What are some other things that, is CEO kind of the same thing? Is
I'm
there
not
a
sure there's
cost
a
for?
cost to CEO.
No.
The only other option, the only other thing we would look at is things like dual credit and that type of stuff where there's some cost. Currently, dual credit's a little bit different because Health Doc is a program into itself, and there's a cost to that whole program. Dual credit typically comes out as a cost per credit hour, so it's a little bit different, but that would be the cost to, like I said, with Health Doc. And I might not have the exact dollars, but I'm pretty close.
McLean, can you give us an example of what one of your courses would be costing? I mean, not so much for school student
So-
split, but just total that
Here's
they'd be
the great
looking
thing
at.
about Lyft is you're not paying for a course, you're paying for a seat. Let
A
me give you an
seat.
example of an HVAC, a student in our HVAC program whose parents own their own HVAC company. He comes in HVAC and just has some prerequisite skills. He's able to work through our modules, through the performance assessments, and how to do some of this, do this. He's gonna finish semester 1 of his HVAC course in like 10 weeks. He's about done with it. He'll start his next HVAC 2 to work toward his certifications mid-semester, and that's fine. He's not paying extra for that, he's paying for that seat. The next semester, he'll finish that up, he'll move on probably to an early workplace experience to eventually take over the family operation, and he'll have a certifications well on his way to be able to do that. So we're not a time-based, like we learned, where you sit in class and today you're on chapter 2, even if you're advanced or even if you're behind and tomorrow you're on chapter 3. If you know and can demonstrate your learning on the equipment and through the modules that we have there, then work ahead. Like, we're not gonna hold you back for that.
Okay, so
So
what does a
what's the
seat
cost?
cost?
Well, the cost is $1,000 per semester, so $2,000 a year. So for Effingham, for example, if you would enroll students next semester, it'd be $1,000.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank
It was important to note that, though. You
get a seat.
The options are endless.
And is this the first year or when did you start?
This is our first year. We've been alive for 10 weeks, 9 weeks. Yeah, we're in our infancy. We're doing great things. Come visit us. I want to show you.
and all they're asking for tonight, though, is
It's approval of the
intergovernmental
intergovernmental
agreement,
agreement.
Right.
which doesn't require us to send our students there. It just makes us
Possible.
be in a position that we
And I think
could.
if we
Correct.
decide to do that, then we can sit down and work out some of these things, cost, transportation time, when students can go. I mean, we've had that thought process already at the high school and the guidance counselors, but none of that needs to be decided. We just need to, basically, we need to know if we need to go forward with it or not.
Can I ask a question? If Unit 40 agrees to sign this, then the next person that McLean goes to can be suggested to him that Unit 40 is on board.
Doesn't mean we're sending kids there, though.
But I saw later in the agenda that there's a vote scheduled
The vote's scheduled for
for this.
the intergovernmental agreement, correct?
Yeah,
That's what I was referencing.
right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you mean that if we sign that intergovernmental agreement, you're saying that it does what?
then McLean can go to the next school district and say, hey, we've got Effingham on board.
Oh,
And person
Good salesman.
in sales would be.
Right.
When you're committed to opportunities for kids, absolutely.
Now.
Maybe I should have said that.
For opportunities for kids for a long time. So.
Okay. Anything else for them?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Still me, isn't it? Unit Foundation report. You have that. Or we
I
have-
do? I don't, but I will mention Breakfast with Santa this year is on December 3rd, Saturday, December 3rd. That's the big fundraiser coming up.
For your request, we didn't have any this month. Fortunate there. Enrollment, we do have in here that our total enrollment is 2,368, which is 31 more students than compared to last year this time. We're not going to the bank on that. I'm just going to tell you, we've had an interesting run with getting our numbers. So just hang with us and let us get through a little farther. Agreed? We think that's where we're at. We need to go around and count every head. So next is we've been notified that we were awarded the $50,000 school maintenance grant for the FY23 school year. I'll be honest with you, I think anybody that applied for it got it. So it's not, a real race there, but it is $50,000 that will help us. And that is going to go towards the South Side project that we have slated for next June, basically.
It's basically gonna be $50,000 off, with our HVAC in Southside, so.
Audit information, I don't have audit information tonight. The auditors will be here at the November board meeting. They've asked for an extension, and I think they send that in to the state or ROE or somebody, but that will take place then. We are privileged and honored, in my opinion, tonight to have a famous person with us. That famous person will be Jane Willenberg. Jane, I don't know if she knows this. Do you know this?
No.
You don't know anything about this? Well, good. ISB did it right this time. IASB did it right this time. Jane Willenberg is being honored as the Distinguished Board Leader. Now, what does that mean, Greg Sapp? As I said at meetings, that we usually let Greg tell us what that means. So I'm going to tell it tonight. Basically, in a nutshell, there are several things that take place through the Illinois Association of School Boards. Attending division meetings, which I think I've seen Jane at for the last 6 years. I recall she's been at every one of those that I've been at, representing Effingham with Mr. Down. Do you vote? Are you on the delegate assembly? Okay, so she's on the delegate assembly. And there's a point system, all right? When you do all these and you do them for several years, you get to a point to where you earn over 400 points in order to be a distinguished board leader. And Jane Willenberg has accomplished that at this point in your career. So I would like to congratulate her. And if you want to pass her over that certificate from the Illinois School Board Association. And I would say she probably deserves a round of applause for what she's done. She's represented us very well, and we appreciate that. Jane?
Thanks.
Takes a lot of hours.
It does.
And I think you do some studying on some of that stuff on some of the meetings that I've been to. So thanks again. We appreciate that.
It's interesting and a lot of fun.
Talk to them about the delegate assembly. Tell them a little bit about that.
Oh, that can be interesting.
But that's where basically anytime there is new legislative items that school districts want, it goes there first, and then that delegate assembly votes on it. And if it's passed there, then it goes on to the legislators, correct? Then we've got
And there's a
lobbyist.
lot of back and forth. There's a lot of them, school districts that think this way and another one, and they argue back and forth, and it gets interesting.
It's quite a show sometimes. Step my head in once. I'm not going back in. Well, thank you, Jane. I think that's it for superintendent's report.
All right, then we're ready to move on to new business. First, we have the tentative tax levy. The proposed levy will be publicly posted with final adoption plan for the November 14th meeting. Would you like to say anything about that?
I would address your attention to the screen. Can you see that from afar? Kinda. It's better than what you can see on my screen, so you're better off than me. What I really want to draw your attention to is I've got two comparisons. In doing homework with the tax assessor for the county, the estimate at this point right now that's been given to us, because there is a TIF that went off the books, it is now basically money that will go back to the governing entities such as us. This is going to be a rather unusual tax levy, to say the least, at this point. To the best of her guesstimations, she's looking at somewhere around 12.75% increase in EAV, in property values, okay? Which means we're going to go from about just a little over 500,000, or 500 million, I'm sorry, 500 million to closer to 600 million. Now, not completely, all right? And then my guesstimations, as you can see on this one, show that basically if we go 12.75%, and please understand, those of you that are reporting for the media already know this, I'm sure, but this is a complete guesstimate, okay? There is absolutely nothing concrete about this. 12.75% would put us in a position to, last year's tax rate with bonds was 3.5379. With the 12.75%, it would go to 3.4961 tax rate, so it would drop approximately 4 cents. And I say that because I want you to see the range. That is not where I'm recommending that we approve at the next board meeting for the tax or the levy hearing. What I'm suggesting we approve there is an 18% increase so that we cover the 12.75, which if you look at every district in the state of Illinois, you will see that they do this. Majority of them have truth and taxation levy hearings because they will most likely go over 4.99%. Okay, if they think they're going to go over that, then they've got to have a truth and taxation hearing. Obviously, as I just stated to you, we're going to go significantly over that. Again, I think it's something that make sure anybody that asks, I would send them my way so I can try to sit down with them and get them to understand that this is not a 12% increase in your property taxes. In fact, I go back again and say, I just told you what last year's tax rate was and what, in my opinion, is the lowest that we could receive, which was 3.4961. I'm going to estimate that we go at 18% increase so that we cover the 12.75, and that would put our tax rate at 3.4620, which is 7.5 cents lower. Any questions about that? If not, and I know it's probably as confusing as heck, I get it. Basically, in a nutshell, if you look at the document on the board, you see the 18% block right there I have covered? I control what goes in that box. I also control what goes into the box down here that says IMRF, a box that says Social Security, and a box that says tort. And that's it. You levy IMRF and Social Security and tort based off of what you need. There's no percentage. It's dollar amounts. The rest of it, without a referendum, cannot be increased. I confuse you anymore? Questions? It's a great situation. From my understanding and talking to Mr. Doan earlier today, I believe that TIF went on 35 years ago. So it's been in play for 35 years.
1986.
Okay. Now it comes off. All of that money that was collected all of those years stayed in the TIF coffers, I would say, for purposes of creating better aesthetics and drawing more people to this community. My guess is it worked. Okay. Again, that's not my job, so I'm not going to go there, but my guess is it worked. Now that money comes back to the governing entities such as us, and we'll greatly benefit from this. but the tax rates should go down as well. So I think it's a win-win.
All right. I'll entertain a motion and a second to adopt the October 2022 tentative tax levy as presented and to set a levy hearing for Monday, November 14th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Motion by Jane,
Second.
second by Steve. Roll call.
Jane, yes. Desha?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Okay, next we have the repair to the parking lot near the baseball field and football field.
And what I'll state there, and Todd can jump in a little bit, maybe give us a little bit more information, but we came with a ballpark figure at the last meeting, and we felt that you as a board felt that because that company was responsible for some of the tear up of that asphalt, I needed to go back to them and see what we can do. And when I did, they've done a better job for us. I think it ranges about $8,000.
$8,060.
Okay, that they're gonna pick up of the tab that was at one time, basically 34 or something. So
Right.
Todd, go ahead if you want to add to that.
There'd still be 20,505 on us. With that project being said, there were some things that went along with it that we are fixing that wasn't necessarily their fault. But I don't know how many of you attend football games or track events, but if you go through the ambulance gate on the south entrance of that parking lot, I would say over the course of the last 20, 22 years where it's been in existence, it has sunken. And so if we have a wet year, there's water that constantly sits there. So we looked at it as, while we're getting this done on that end of the parking lot, we may as well fix that asphalt from the track to the parking lot. So that is part of it. But I mean, with them picking up 8 of it, I feel like that's pretty good with us, getting the remainder of the 20. And then we shouldn't have that water issue there anymore. So.
I agree.
Any questions? All right, then I will entertain a motion and a second to approve $28,565 for repair to the parking lot near the baseball football field by Effingham Asphalt.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Desha,
Second.
second by Steve. Roll call.
Desha?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes.
Motion carries. Okay, next we have upgrades to the EJHS drama facilities. I believe that the information on that was to replace the performance draperies, which would be the stage curtains, basically. Anybody have any questions about that? If you've been in that auditorium recently, you know that is the one area of the junior high that we did not upgrade at all when we did the massive renovation there. We really just kind of left that space alone. So I think that's why there's a need there.
And we'll likely come back to you for some more in the coming 6 months, year and a half, as I'm trying to get some information from the director down there to kind of give me some updates.
So this is maybe the first step in
Right.
upgrading that facility, which has probably been the same for 50 years, so.
At least, huh?
At least.
At least.
Yeah. All right. I entertain a motion and a second to approve upgrades to the EJHS drama facilities to not exceed $50,000.
Motion.
Motion by Jill, I'll second that.
Robin?
Yes,
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Desha?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
motion carries. Next, transportation software. Kristen Harvey, our Director of Transportation, is with us this evening to give us some information about that. You can tell Kristen's been hard at work on this.
It's been a project.
Yeah.
So I made a little PowerPoint and sent to you guys this afternoon. So we'll just start it. I started with that interface. That right there is one of the tablets that would go on a bus. And that is a student's database, basically, where they're going, when they're going, where they're going. So that's what we would see on a daily if we pulled up that student. This here, the software is like an all-in-one. So everything you see there is what it will be capable of doing. student information, activity trips, data management, mapping, the run collector. I touched on all of these throughout, but like the run collector is one of the neatest things ever. I could ride that bus with my phone, and it is collecting GPS points all the way throughout the route. I come back, I upload it, that route section. And it's the neatest thing ever, yeah. Resource management, the GPS, that's the big one. That's what kind of makes it all go together. The fleet maintenance, dispatch, planning, fair and half is huge. They'll be able to get on and see where their kid is from their bus stop. Once their kid is off the bus, they don't get to see the bus anymore, but to that point, they see second by second upload of where is that, their at.
Where the bus is.
This is the base of the product. So over on the right side, you see like weather. When I open our map, I can lay, that's so a widget, so to say. I lay that map or the weather on my map, and it shows where it's storming. It shows where on that route what's happening. I can put like traffic. So over on Jefferson and Fayette's been a little bit of a nightmare this year with all the construction. It will show me the red, and I can tell them where to reroute to. The Presbyterian Church the other day, obviously here in town, I know most of that, where them to go, but if they're out of town, they're on the interstate, I can pull that up at home. So I can tell them, all right, get off 70 here and go this route. It's really, really neat tool that we can overlay. There's several different things. Sexual predators we have on our current system, it has them located. This one doesn't locate them, but I can pull another widget up that will just overlay them. It does the same thing. So there's numerous widgets we can overlay on our current maps that will help tremendously. I mean, you can see like there's notes on there that will pop up for drivers. Their certificates when they're due, when their physicals due, anything. We can put anything to pop up on there the day, the next day, the day after. But that's just kind of the basics. Here's kind of the guidance. Yep. It is web-based, so our current one we house. IT doesn't have to do a lot with it now, honestly. There's not very many things they have to work with on it with me, but this one's completely web-based, so they never have to. I spoke to a couple different districts that use it. They said that that it is minimal. There's 3 updates a year, and they said there will be time for 5 minutes, like lag, but they've never been out more than 5 minutes that they could recall. That was Flora and then a school district up north that told me about that. The ERS or the ESRI mapping system is the overlay I was talking about. That is an add-on that I did include in the quote. The run collector is the geolocate that I spoke about, that I will ride the bus. I can have my assistant take me out in the van, and we're going to redo a route to see which way is going. One way might be faster mile-wise, but traffic-wise, it's not working, so they got to figure something else out. That's where that would be very efficient.
How's that done now? How do you figure those routes now?
In my head.
Keep going. Sorry to interrupt, but I knew that.
So then the complete fleet maintenance. Troy does an amazing job right now, but here's the thing, Troy's close to retirement, so I understand people are replaceable, but this guy's pretty unique, and he worries me because he has been here a long time. He was Gene's right-hand man. I don't have to worry about anything in that garage. I don't have to worry about a bus. I literally do not have to worry about anything with him. But when he's gone, I'm gonna have to worry. This does everything. It does my mileage for every district vehicle, the maintenance on them. It gives me, there are so many reports you can pull from it, it's unreal. So it is pretty neat in itself. The reporting capabilities, we have 2 major state reports we have to do at the end of the year, and this will make it. It'll go from 1 day one full workday of trying to get it done to maybe an hour. The partnership, that just happened last year between Tyler Technologies and Infinite Campus. So these two are now kind of a couple and working together, which is huge because that's our student information system. So I'm assuming that's going to make the communication between the two even better now than what we have. The expanded route control, to kind of give you an idea of the system I'm using, it's not bad, but it's a flip phone compared to an iPhone. You know, you can text people on a flip phone, but it takes you a lot longer to do that. And this year, it just is, for example, when I clone a route, it will clone how I had the buses going last year, but I have to reassign every one of those kids. There's 1,689 in there writing right now. So I have to reassign every one of those. It will reassign some, but for some reason, it doesn't want to overload bus stops. So this, I can lock it, roll it, keeps the kids there. So what I'm routing next year are the new kids. Everyone else stays the same. Now, if there's new kids riding, they'll be out there and I'll have to add them, but it's not routing 1,600 kids anymore. So, and that takes every bit of 8 full business days between my assistant and I, putting them back on the bus that they were at, the stop that they were at, has a history tracker. So our current system will show us the last time we changed something, but we don't know what we changed. We don't know if it was Kathy changed it, I changed it, what we changed, what was the address. And that's really a big thing because whenever kids aren't attending school, they call me, what address do you have? So I have the current address that I had, but if they changed it 2 weeks prior, I don't know what it was, but I know that it was changed, and that's all I can tell them. This year we'll track all of it per student record. Manual stop times doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's huge. So the system I have, it is telling you what it thinks the times are, what it thinks the bus is running, the speed limit, the traffic, this and that. And I can manipulate it on the front end, but I can't in the middle or at the end. So I can get them to school by 8:15, but their first pickup might be 6:45, but really bus is getting there at 6:55. We ask kids to be out there 10 minutes ahead of time, and that's ridiculous. So I have to call those kids and be like, really, I don't want you out there until this time. And then as the year goes on, they get used to their times. I can manually change them, block them, and that's what goes out to the kid at the beginning of the school year. So much smoother, because that goes into their student system. So the parents, when they go into their kid's profile on Infinite Campus, that's what they're seeing. I can't change it. So this year, once I lock it in, that's what goes to their student profile, and then it's locked. So this, we're going into the GPS part of it, the telematics. This is what would be, it's, you know, like whenever you have a car light come on, like a check engine light, they plug it into the computer and they tell you what it was. That's kind of what this does, but it does do that. If I can do so many reports out of this, I can check it at home and find out what buses are dead. Their diesel regen. If they didn't get plugged in, they don't start. If the cord is bad, they don't start. It will tell me that at home. I can call the driver and say, hey, get in bus 7 because yours isn't going to start. Obviously, we don't know that until I go turn the key now. So, on the next one, we have
Maybe. Hello. It's not happy with me. Here we go. Sorry.
no, it's fine. So this year's like the map of all those green triangles are buses. So you can click on that and actually see it live moving. You can see exactly where your buses are, every break they make, every turn they make, everything. And that's what it's showing. Like it's hard to see up there, but it says like bus 105 is heading west at 1 mile an hour. Shows another bus idling that's what we will see on our end. So if we have a bus sitting there idling for 10 minutes, there's a problem. So I'm radioing that bus, finding out what's going on.
Kristen, too, like if the bus has a predetermined route and we're mapping it and it takes a wrong turn, does that alert you or I'm just?
It could, yes,
Okay.
I can
I
set
said,
whatever
if
alerts.
somebody would, God forbid, like hijack a bus
Yes,
and it takes a wrong turn, it alerts you, you can come and
right,
figure out what's going on.
100%, because there's no way they can stop this.
Right.
Like, there's no way to, like, we will always know where our vehicles are at all times.
So the director of transportation or our assistant would be sitting, just so you can visualize, would be sitting in your office with this up as our night run is going. So we also know that, lots of times we're wondering where, because I hear on the radio, hey, squirrel bus, whatever, where are you? You about back to the nest? No. That's what I always tell them when I drive. Horse is back at the stable.
Yeah, it's, I think on the next screen, it touches more on.
Go to the next one.
what-
Right, screwed it up. There we go.
So yeah, the onboard diagnostics, anytime an engine light comes on, it tells me. So in the morning, Troy doesn't drive, in the afternoon, Troy drives. So I'm not a mechanic. But I can connect with the computer we have now to find out why it's so in the code. This is already telling me. So sometimes Troy will have to wait at a school for that bus to come so he can check it and decide if it should go on, if they need to go get another bus. I can tell him what the code is, because most codes it doesn't matter. Most codes it can keep going, but there's a few that it cannot. So this has happened the other morning. So he bust through a code and it was red engine light, can't move. So he had to go take another bus down, and had I had that, we could have connected it right then. It wouldn't have got that route 25 minutes behind. So there's risk management driver scorecard. So I can set a scorecard for each driver so that however, whatever I want. It's not like already in there. I can create the scorecard for their driving. So whenever they do their yearly review, it'd be something that goes along with it. Bus alarm notifications, we can set all kinds of alarms on there. And this one is one of them that will alert me that bus is dead. I was talking about the battery dies. It will tell me how much voltage is left in it, actually. It's pretty neat. It's a pretty neat little gadget there. The proactive maintenance, all the reports, maintenance, that the engine, it gives like a report on the engine condition. So like if a bus idles too long, like that takes points away and different things like that. So we can set up a scorecard for the engine itself. There's a digital accident reconstruction. So unfortunately last year we had one of our brand new buses get hit on Willow Street, and it records the impact, everything of what happened. And I have to give that to the state anyway, so this basically does it for me and saves hours and hours of rewriting, recreating everything that happened. So the electronic rollout sheet, this is what kind of makes this all go together. It pushes the data from our system to this system, and then the K-12 app that is a little bit down here.
Is this only so advanced based on what type of vehicle you have, based on certain buses? Like, I mean, we wouldn't be getting all this information if this was, in a driver's ed van.
No, we will.
You would get all this?
Oh, yeah.
So how does it connect to the
It's
car?
Geo Tracker, right?
Yeah, it's GeoTracker. It's like part of the proposal, so it's like Verizon, so to say.
I'm talking about like the diagnostics. It
We're
would,
hooking it up to the engine. is what
Yeah,
you're
so
saying. Like how it's gonna code.
Yeah, so like you said, when your car throws a code and you take it in, and they plug the computer into it, that's what this is basically coming to me.
Oh, you don't have to plug it in, it's already coming.
So it's constantly running and reading that code.
I bought a new vehicle this summer. I get an email from GMC once a month on the diagnostics of that machine. It's unreal.
But, I mean, it has to be a newer vehicle, right?
I don't think it has to be, not with these geo trackers, I don't think it has to be. Mine was made with it.
I sent them a list of every one of our district vehicles, and there was only one in question, and I think that was Rick's van.
What?
Rick's van, it's a little problem. I think it's
Right.
like-
A majority of, I mean, that's
But
going
they think
way
it will
back.
work in that one as well. That was the only questionable one out of all of those vehicles, so. And then this here is my right K-12, this is the parent app. So you see on the right hand of the screen, you see the bus. This is what the parent's seeing, that bus, and then where the person is waving, that's where the student's going. So that's what the parent sees, like how close they are to that stop. Now, granted, the kid has to be on the bus, we don't, I don't know if they did miss the bus or something like that. So they could be seeing that, their kid really isn't on it, but as long as their child gets on the bus, it downloads second to second.
This isn't the student tracker. This is just,
There's no button.
this is just the,
No,
this is just the bus.
tracker, no.
Yeah.
That was, I didn't want to
Yeah.
get into that one, so.
I mean, that has to be part of the program though, right? I mean.
Scan
Well,
for
it's
the
an option.
ID.
They
It's
just
an
have
option, we're
idea,
just not-
but it doesn't.
But they do have that.
Those to keep those cards, and not trade those cards, from my research is not.
Okay.
Flora had it, Chad did a little research, and Flora had that, and they used it one semester.
Frank
It was
said
so
he-
confusing because the kids didn't bring the cards, they traded the cards, it was just a
Frank said
mess.
that they spent 4 days making new cards because they lost it.
And so they just stopped it.
It's a great concept, but.
Oh, it's a shame, because if it worked, it's the safest
Yeah.
opportunity we could put for a kid, anything we do.
Yes, 100%, but unfortunately. So like the kids would never miss the bus again. The kids can put this app on their phone, they'll know when the bus, how close the bus is. It'll enable the phone calls of the bus garage at schools. I mean, when the buses are 5 minutes behind, it's unreal how quick the phone will blow up. This I can push out notifications almost instantly. So like when I said the other morning, one of the buses, the engine light came on, I had to call every parent from that first stop until the schools. And it took me 23, 24 minutes. I would have it done in like 2. I can select the bus stops, push it out, bus is running 20 minutes late, and it only goes to those kids that ride that bus. So, when there's assigned seating utilized, some drivers, I let the drivers pick now that COVID's over, they have it or they don't have it, but it shows on their student record or in the app what seat they can sit in. It keeps parents and students informed at all times. They always know when their bus is, where it's at. Which then leads us to Tyler Drive. These are the tablets that I requested 8 of them for our sub drivers and new drivers. So it's something that can go in I have requested an amount for every bus we have, but only requested 8 of the tablets. We have a few routes, and I only have a few drivers that know, other than me. And they're out south of Edgewood and Mason, and it gets a little confusing out there. So I have 2 drivers that can do that right now. But if I have this, you hit start and they go. And it doesn't matter if they know it tells them turn by turn. Now they can't, the screen's locked, so they can't touch it, they can't mess with it. But if they turn wrong, it reroutes them, it tells me. I think on the next screen it has, but you have to have the mounts in order for them to work though, so that's why there's request of mounts on every bus, but it's turn by turn direction. I can change the route, redraw it, and within, it's actually like a minute and a half, it will reroute them. So like again, that same route down south, Everly Road floods all the time. People aren't familiar with the area, they're not gonna know to go back up 45 and take the cut through road. But I can redraw it and get them there, no problem. So that's huge with, a lot of my subs right now are my retired drivers, but eventually that's gonna change when they don't know the routes. So feel that these are needed for those drivers. They can take them on extra trips too. And you can put it, certain schools want buses to park at certain places and I can drop a pin there and that's where we'll take that bus, so. The Traverse Advanced Activity Trips, this is, what I would plug like all our extracurricular trips into, but this is also something that I can open up to teachers for field trips for their requests. So in the past, we've used A&D, which is kind of come to an end, and now they just email me, and then I check with principals and things like that, but we don't have that approval process anymore. We do, but we don't. It used to go through A&D, and it would go through the principal, and then me, and then the assistant superintendent. Well, now they just email me, and then I check with the principals, or the principals talk to me, one of the two. So this is something we would like to utilize. It kind of comes with this program, because it's not already, but this is way better than what we have currently. So it, again, it's extracurricular trips, and then it tracks these miles too. Whenever I put in these locations, so at the end of the year when I have to do a report on our extracurricular activities, it's already done. Right now, I do a spreadsheet that I calculate this stuff throughout the year. I can do easy print directions for the drivers for those locations, or they can take a tablet with them. It tracks field trip expenses, so the parochial schools, we charge them what it costs us, and all this can go in there, and I can actually invoice them out of this program, which I wouldn't. It's Teresa's job, but I can send it to her, and she has all the information she needs, where they went, who drove what bus, how many miles, how many hours, because they can clock in on it as well. So there's the ugly part. So
The best part.
I know lots of questions here. So the initial setup of this, I know it costs a lot. I know it does, but the migration. So the program we use now is Versatrans, which is a part of Tyler Technology. Like, the best comparison I can come up with is the flip phone, iPhone, and that's, so we're going to the first year of migration. It's a little bit pricier because they're taking my map, they're taking everything I have in our current system and they're rolling it over. The geotabs, the telematics, that's where the price comes. Those are all those geotabs. That is the, there's hardware that comes with all of those that they secure. They come, they install these, they secure with, it's like a little package. She was supposed to send, or I was going to get one sent, but I forgot. But it's a little package that has zip ties and certain screws and different things that they actually install these with. They install them. All of the mounts they install on every bus that we're getting. And that is the biggest cost. That comes, this includes like Verizon network that we would have to use to utilize it. Then the Tyler driver, the tablet. So that's each tablet, each mount system comes with that, which I think we got 32. The My Ride K-12 is the app. And then that's what gives us the grand total. And then the second year, obviously, it comes down. And then the third year, it goes up a little bit. But no matter what system we get, we're not utilizing any kind of tracking devices on our bus currently. We have a hard drive that's on there, but until the bus gets back, I don't know where it's been, what it's done. And there's times that system doesn't communicate well. And so it always shows me where they work. The cameras themselves work good, but there's some backlight on like different things where whenever they're way out in the country with this particular system and say on it, it doesn't communicate well. So I always know where they are. It always does the GPS coordinates, but I don't always get the speed, or I don't always get the signals or something to that nature. And see, I'm never really going to give me a reason why. Where with your geotabs and the telematic, we will always know, always.
We haven't been able to find anyone that can compare this apples to apples, right? Every other thing that we've looked at
So
has a
like,
different variation.
Florida's using the Traversa software that they're using. And if I understood Frank correctly, they have a different camera system that we do, which is Sonar, and that those have like a GPS system in them as well. But going that route, we have to get rid of all of our cameras, get their camera. I mean, we're looking at starting at the bottom for many products we get, unfortunately, because we don't have any of those options right now.
So our cameras will work with this.
Yeah, our cameras work, 100%, and then the rest of this works on its own, so our cameras will be on there doing their thing, and then this is all,
Okay.
more of those geotabs, like I said.
Do you have just a ballpark figure about what it's costing us now with this software or that we're using that doesn't work very well? What are we spending in a year?
It's very minimal. I think when I checked with Kevin last time, it was 8,000, and then I don't know if that includes the advanced strips, which is pretty minimal, it's probably like at 1,500. So
maybe 10.
So like for the software itself, it's only about the second year is 14,900, so you're looking at like a $5,000 increase on the software. All these other things are new, like we don't have them. And again, like I said, I know Jack talked to Flora, they use the Sonar, and I'm not opposed to that, but it's still gonna be a bottom up process, because we're gonna have to get their cameras, or their geotabs, kind of, does that make sense?
We've got a couple systems going on instead of just one.
And we still have to get all those products like on here,
Okay.
so.
I know, I think, and so this was the first price this is the initial price they've given us.
Yes, I had asked a few years ago on just the geotabs and using because it'll work with our current software. And the pricing was pretty much the same for just the geotabs themselves. Because you're paying for like phone bill basically, not phone bill, but your cell phone bill is Verizon, the service of that, for that all to communicate, that's a big number in there. And the tangible items themselves, all of those geo units, I mean, there's 51 of them. And then all the installation of them, they come out and do that. So that's a big chunk of that geotab section there.
How many buses do we have?
We'll have it on 33 of them.
33.
There's activity buses too. But this is for all district vehicles. This price is for all district vehicles.
But what I was going to compare it to is, I don't know if folks in the room understand how much one of those big buses costs now. It's a $134,000 vehicle. So when you want to compare, right? We've got a pretty expensive piece of equipment that this district does a great job of using and being able to sell to other districts, that there's still use available, and we buy new. So I think you want to put some of that in the comparison and in the process when you start thinking about this, because it's a lot of money. It's a pretty big investment. But I think it's efficient. It provides more efficiency and more safety. Would you agree?
100%.
I think, obviously, Kristen, you've put a lot of time and work into learning about all of this and talking to these people, and we really appreciate it. Yeah, and so if we went forward with this, if we have this in place by, say, January, that would allow adequate time for implementation and training?
I think so. As far as us, the only thing I want to stay away from is getting it in the summer, because
Right, too late, yeah.
it's too late for this next school year. I did break down the hours.
Yeah, there's a couple more, I guess. I didn't.
Yeah, it's fine, it's just a lot of info.
It's a training part, which is something that Chad asked about at the last
I
board
was gonna
meeting.
say, yeah, and he had some questions today. He couldn't be here this evening, but he talked with Kristen and copied
There's a lot.
and it had some good points to make. Still, and was just concerned some about contract language too. So, and also the pricing. He was a little concerned. This was the initial price, if maybe we couldn't do better than this. But so I might suggest that I think Kristen's done her legwork, obviously, but if we could table this until next month and move on it next month after Chad's kind of our expert on this because he kind of works with the language, contract language and so on in his business. So kind of like him to have the time to look at it a little bit longer. If that works for everybody, then we can vote on it next month.
I agree.
Is there anything else you would like to know or us be doing?
How long do we lease a bus?
5 years.
5 years? So then 5 years, then someone has to come out and take the geo-tracking off.
No, I'm sorry, they will train Troy how to do it, so when we get a new bus, we keep that unit and reinstall
And
it,
then
so he will get trained as well, on that part.
But like a computer, will last 5-6 years. How long do those geo-tracking devices work and how often will we have to upgrade them?
I
Do we
will have to get, I don't know that answer, but as far as like our computer that we have, that we hook up to it, Troy's had it for kind of, Kurt was over there just updating it the other day, I think it's 10 years old. So I don't think that, I wouldn't think that they would need updated that much, but I will find that.
I think that one of the most important things is that it talks to Infinite Campus.
Right.
So
Well, and
That's huge.
the slide that had the initial cost, the second year cost, third year cost. So the second year and third year costs, do we continue to see that rate each year that we're implementing? I mean, is that what it's gonna cost
It is.
every year?
I think that's a
beyond-
maintenance fee.
Beyond
I
the
mean,
initial.
yes.
Okay.
every year there's going to be
I mean, there's
that
gonna be
maintenance fee.
increases,
Right.
obviously.
I think the first year it's a lot more because we're getting a lot of the equipment
Right.
that's going on the buses.
But
and
we're
we
looking
go-
at-
A 5-year contract and have a set rate maybe, or
Mhm.
But we're looking at about $40,000, a little over $40,000 a year from infinitely
Correct.
to use it.
And yeah, I mean, I'll be more than happy to look into other, I did look into one, I gave you guys one, and it was a basic, and that's how they sold it, is basic needs. And that's not what I want, I don't want basic needs, we're routing kids, I want, I'm not saying this is the best, because there's other ones out there that are comparable, but in order to get more prices, it takes months, because you have to get, they don't want you wasting their time with this getting numbers. Like this was a 7-step process to get these numbers. The last one I got, that was like a 2-week process, but they gave me tablets on there, they haven't even rolled out with yet. They don't even have them. They haven't even, it's a maybe. So like those prices weren't even, and that's accurate, but his selling point to me was it's basic and that's what you want. I'm like, no, I don't need basic. He's like, well, you don't need all the confusion. And that's not how it works.
Well,
You need all the.
We have a
So
complicated system.
But
With all of our
like I said, I would
schools.
be more than happy to work with Zonar and get some numbers for them. It's gonna be similar no matter what we get that has that geo tracking, that live tracking. That's it's a standard higher cost, unfortunately, but I feel that for our students, it's a must at this stage. So,
I would suggest that if the board members have questions, to please send those questions to Kristen and I. Make that within the next week, if at all possible, so that we can get that narrowed down. And let's say by the 8th of November, because our next board meeting is the 14th, we will have something back in your hands that work for you to be able to say, here's a different price quote. If we get a different price quote, here's a different plan. And if you've got questions, we'll get those answered. Does that sound good?
Right. And like I said, Chad had some things he wanted to, like a certificate of cybersecurity and some things like that we could look into before November.
that sounds good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Great job, Kristen. Thank you.
All right,
So that's tabled.
so we're going to table that to the November meeting. All right, next on the agenda, we have the lift agreement. That is, of course, what we heard Mr. Schaefer and Mr. Roberts talk to us about. So this is just the approval of whether we approve the lift agreement, which is just the intergovernmental agreement that would allow them, if we're interested in that, would allow Kurt and whoever else to start planning and making it an option for our kids. So I don't know if we have any more discussion about that.
Any concerns?
I was gonna say, I believe that Kurt made a really valid point when he said this is just one more opportunity for our students. And we may not need all of the things that they are describing, because there may be some other opportunities for students in some of those areas, but I think we need to reach towards giving our kids as many opportunities as we can.
I don't disagree. I have a concern with high school students driving to Mattoon every day.
We already have students that drive to Lakeland.
Oh, really?
We have an automotive program, they drive out, it's not necessarily every day. I don't think we do right now, but we have in the past.
I mean, I'm all for the
Okay.
opportunities.
Okay, then, if I don't hear anything else, I would entertain a motion and a second to approve the lift agreement with the Mattoon School District.
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by
It's Fisher, it doesn't matter.
Desha. Roll call.
Jill,
Yes.
Jean, yes, Desha,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Robin.
Yes, motion carries. Next, we have an updated risk management plan. You just don't need to say anything. Okay, then this is just a motion and a second to approve an updated risk management agreement pending attorney review.
Let me throw a couple things out
Okay.
there real quick, sorry. The rationale behind this too, and you can look at the tort, as I stated earlier, when we talk about the levy, we have increased the tort to a ballpark of an extra $150,000. That's probably being conservative. I probably need more than that, and here's why. We're trying in this district to get more nurses on staff. We right now currently have one nurse that services 2,400 students. Okay, I think the per capita, that when you do comparisons with places that tell you, it's probably in the ballpark of 800 to 1, which is still a lot. Well, that's 3 in this district. Right now, we're just going to try to get to 2. I can pay for that out of the risk management plan when you put the percentage of salaries in there, because that is a completely 100% coverage of safety and security and health for our students. Same thing applies for an SRO. I'm also looking to put a second SRO in as soon as possible. I'll be honest with you, it's something that probably needed in yesterday. I want that as soon as we can get it. I will probably be at the next board meeting in November with a proposal to seek some input from city council on how to do that. But basically, tort can help us out in those areas, and it should, because again, it's creating a safer and healthier environment for our kiddos. So those are some of the updates, that percentages of salaries and things like that are in there. Honestly, that's from what I can tell, the current risk management plan was in place in, I think, 1997 or 1998. So things have changed a little bit since then.
Okay, again, a motion and a second to approve the updated risk management agreement pending attorney review. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Roll call.
Jill,
Yes.
Jean, yes, Desha,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Robin.
Yes, motion carries. Next, we're looking at medical supplies and AED machines. Aaron Spicer has sent us a proposal from CIPNAS.
Aaron's our safety guy for the district. We try to put most things on his shoulders. He's done a great job of putting a PowerPoint together here. I'll just skim through it. You ask questions if you've got them. Basically, again, this is another means of something that can be paid out of tort, and it is putting us in a position to be more updated with our offerings of safety and security and health within our buildings. AED machines. You all know what an AED machine is. Right now, I'm not even 100% sure what our process is for checking those, but those have to be checked periodically, make sure they're still functioning and things of that nature. This company will come in and do that for us. They'll come in and check it. We're also proposing to put medical cabinets in every secretarial office in the district so that you can pull a cabinet open when a kid's got a skin knee or whatever the need is. I'll stop there. We can go to that cabinet and pull out whatever we need to be able to help them to the best of our ability. They stock that. So when they come around either every couple weeks or every month, they stock. If we're out of Band-Aids, they'll put Band-Aids in there and they bill us for it. So we know that that's all taken care of. So here real quick, running through it. If you know what an AD is, anybody not, anybody need any more information on that? They have children and adults sizes. As I've told some people, the district I left, fortunately it wasn't while I was there, but there was a gentleman saved at a football game with an AED machine, and I got to meet that guy, and he's a great guy today, but he wouldn't be here if that AED machine wasn't there and working. We currently have these that are in place already. As you can see, many of them are 5 to 16 years of age. Some of the AEDs were purchased in 2006. 10 years is the typical expiration. So we need those updated, and this
You have the 6 at the high schools, that includes sports complex, because there's several out there.
the sports complex has been included, so I'm assuming it's probably the high school. That's talking about the cabinets. Current supplies are located in the school nurses' offices and bins or one metal cabinet. Again, this will be a nice cabinet on the wall. You just pull it open, grab what they need, go take care of whatever kiddos got to need. There's your picture of the AED machines. Fixed monthly cost with a 36-month agreement. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they come in and replace when new AEDs come out. If you're on their service plan, like we would ask to be, they'll come and replace those with new ones when the new ones come out. There's a picture of your cabinets. Obviously what's in there. How the service works. And again, that's just the process that I basically explained to you already. Medical supplies. They do CPR. It's not something we're recommending a service from them. We already have CPR training, comes from American Heart Association, Red Cross, and people like that. So at this point, we're not recommending that to be one of the purchases. And here's the proposal. As always, everything's expensive today. Again, this would be something to be purchased out of tort funds. I'm not gonna lie to you, we did this at the district that I left, where I was prior to here. It went very, very well. Just helps us to stay on top of making sure the equipment's ready to go. I pray it never happens, but if it ever happens to where we would need to go save somebody, then you can see the supplies and $36-month contract, $1,744 a month, basically almost $21,000.
Can I see the cabinet price? Can you go back?
Here?
So how much to keep the cabinets stocked every month?
I believe that's, what he pays $100 a unit. That's for the AEDs. I think it's included, isn't it? Right there it is.
First aid service visits.
Based on
monthly,
need.
Based on need.
So in other words, it doesn't have the supplies written into it for,
So there's not an automatic charge for those cabinets every month?
I think it's only what they, when
What
I
they-
looked at it, what they replace,
Correct.
we pay for.
Do you have options of what you want in the cabinet?
Yes.
Are they gonna put in like Narcan in
Correct.
them? They could put those in
I'm
there.
just wondering,
Think so.
I'm just thinking the nurses should maybe
It
have an
catered to-
input on
Oh,
what
yeah.
is in the cabinets, stuff they would use.
Well, that's what we do already with our nurse. She takes care of getting all that stuff currently in there, so she will be heavily involved.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I know Aaron talked to the administrators. I'm assuming he talked to Catherine too. I don't know 100%, but I'll make sure he does. Thoughts, questions?
I asked him who was going to be trained, because was it 8? I forget what the number was. That they were supplying training for a certain number of people. And he said they would be training the nurse, building principals, those present at most athletic events, and selected coaches. I questioned whether 8, was 8 the number? Do you have
Up
that?
to
Nine.
9.
9. I questioned whether as many buildings as we have, that's enough.
There's a requirement that everybody has to be, all coaches, they have to be AED and
Okay,
anyway,
CPR.
so we already do that.
okay.
It's a challenge right now because there's not very many trainers out there, right? But I mean, I don't think that 8 is a limiting factor. In other words, it won't be just that 8, I
Okay,
guess is what I'm saying.
because at some of the buildings that maybe don't have all those coaches, I wouldn't want just one person to be trained there, because that person might not be there when it's needed. So I would think you would want at least 2 people in every building, so.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to get by with just those 8. In other words, there are a lot of people that are mandated to be trained because of what their position is.
Thank you. Anything else?
And I don't know, does anybody know if, I didn't think to ask, if these are utilized in any more offices in the community? I know I've seen the Centos vehicle parked at some places, but I don't remember where. Not that that matters, I guess, but at least you see they're a reputable company.
I feel like I've seen the logo too, but I don't know where.
You'll see it now. We'll see it now.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, if not, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve the Cintas 3-year contract for medical cabinets, supplies, upgraded AED machines, and their service contract.
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second,
second by Desha. Roll call.
Jane, yes. Desha?
yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes,
Jill?
Yes.
motion carries.
Before we go to closed, and I apologize, Mr. Taylor, I didn't get this on the agenda. I know, I've been meaning to tell you for 2 days and didn't tell you. I would like, just real quick, for Mr. Taylor to just give us a little overview on something that's coming in November. We won't be taking any action items on it. It's strictly this would be a information only portion. If somebody's objecting to me veering from the agenda, I'll stop now and we'll just give it to you in November. But if you don't mind, it'll take you a couple minutes just to get
That's not what November,
14th. This one is a board meeting.
right?
The scrubber, I need it before.
Oh, okay,
The
that's.
scrubber,
The scrubber for the high school.
yes,
All right, got
Yeah.
it. So we're not, you just need me to give the information on that for now.
yes.
Okay.
Is that okay? Yeah,
Yeah, all right. But you guys can keep these till you know the 14th if you want. So this will be pretty brief, pretty quick.
that's why I said we'll do it. You're good at that.
Right. Basically, what's going on at the high school is I have some right-on equipment that is, for lack of a better word, needing retired. That's what it shows in my first line there. First piece of equipment is from '04. The other one is '99. So that means it was original to the building. It has served its life. When I called trying to get parts on it, that is not existent anymore. They actually laughed at me. Like when I called to try to get parts for it, so I can't get them to fix it. I've needed them for a while here. We have some ESSER 3 or ESSER 2 money remaining that we can use towards this. So you see that's the Mill Disc Advanced, the Worldmatic. I need to replace both of those. We're starting to get away from Hilliard anymore because I'm starting to get a bad taste in my mouth with them. They're out of St. Louis. I call them, they come look at our equipment, they say, we'll be there in 8 weeks. They come look at it, and they say, we need this part, we'll be back in 8 weeks. So, all of a sudden, I look at like 4 months out with a piece of equipment, I'm already down for a month, so I'm trying to get away from them. So I talked to some local people, one being Crossroads Truck Equipment, and then I've also, you'll see the other paper with Lorenz Wholesale Supply. Talked to them. When I went to talk to Crossroads Truck Equipment, they said I've been the fourth person in here lately that is having problems getting Hilliard on site with parts and all that. So there's been several local, well, the bigger one would be the Hershey plant over in Robinson. They went to these Tomcats, Effingham Equity in all their buildings. They started going to these Tomcats as far as the ride-on scrubbers and cleaners. So just, a little bit of background info on that with those people going to them. When I say I need to replace both of these, that being a ride-on scrubber and a burnisher, for those of you who might not know what that is, it's basically a polisher. It polishes the VCT. Both of those pieces of equipment together would be around $35,000 or $36,000 from the quotes that I've got. But talking to the Tomcat people, and I've even talking to the Tomcat person at Crossroads Truck Equipment, and then I actually called the manufacturer too and talked to them. This piece of equipment that they quoted me for $19,316 can be used as a scrubber and a buffer with the correct pad / attachment put onto it. So I could basically get both machines in one, which should save us quite a bit. And then with the 6,500 off the ESSER, we're looking at 12,808 is what I'm looking to spend on getting the new machine. If you look at some of the other prices on the Renz one, this one with the 19.3 is very comparable to that with the scrubber. The only thing that I would worry about as far as what some people worry about is if it would do the buffing, like what they're saying, but really I'm not going to be out anything trying it and seeing if it works like some people say it will as far as buffing. And if we got to go back at a later date and get a buffer, that's just what it's going to be, because the scrubbers over here on the other one, I don't have a chance to buff with it. They're still more expensive than the Tomcat. So I would like to take my chance with that. They're local. All their people are trained to work on it. So it's not like I call Hilliard and they said, we'll be there in 4 weeks. I'd probably call Crossroads Truck Equipment if it's over our head and be like, I'll be there in 4 minutes because they're half a mile away. Parts are just across the Illinois border in Wisconsin, so it's like 4 hours away. They've already promised me if we need a part, if they can't overnight it, they'll drive up the next day and get it for us. So I'm just looking more of it as a convenience factor more than anything, and I feel like the price is right, combining both machines into one. So.
And I dropped the ball, or you'd be asked to approve that tonight. That one's on me because it's over $10,000. It's got to come to you before we can move forward. So that'll be back in November. Sorry to take up more of your time, but thank you, Todd.
Okay, anybody have
I owe
anything
that
else?
to him.
Any questions for Tom?
Yeah, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
We'll table that until, have it on the November agenda.
So, and with the other equipment, with Advance and all that, Milfisk and I'm trying to think of the other name on that one. Basically, they had a tornado go through their factory, so you might get your equipment in 4 weeks, you might get your equipment in 4 months. They don't have a good answer for you. Tomcat, as soon as I put the order in, I'll have it 10 days later. So that's also another huge bonus.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
All right, anything else before we enter closed session? All right, if not, I will entertain a motion and a second to enter into closed session for appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district, collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, and student discipline.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Dasha,
Second.
second by Jill. Roll call.
Desha,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, we'll enter into closed session.
Now I'd like Jennifer and Jenny to stay in here and go in to start with us.